Professor Anita Ghai. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm very pleased to have met you.
Yeah, same here. It's
Yes.
a wonderful university.
Thank you, thank you. Today is the 5th and the 6th of December. I mean yesterday and today.
Yeah.
We are at the University of Bielefeld, and you was here at the conference. I would like to ask you my first question: who you are, where you come from, disciplinary, and then what did you took with you from these 2 days, and about research, your research. What I would like to take and learn from you.
Yeah, I'm from New Delhi, India, and I teach in human studies in Ambedkar University. I'm a professor there, and I specialize in disability studies, though I was trained in psychology. And I teach them disability studies, and it gives me a lot of, it was a dream that I could kind of create a knowledge base of disability as an epistemology of disability. So I think it was very, very important for me. Kala and Bettina, we kind of met each other in the sense over the internet, and we thought about inclusion. And I think it was great to kind of, create this kind of conference where we could talk about inclusion. And I think I also has learned a lot from inclusion, because when you look at inclusion as a broader lens, you don't talk only about disability. You also talk about caste, you also talk about race, you also talk about migrants, you also talk about minorities,
Gender.
like Muslims, for example, you talk about gender. So there are many issues that are there on the plate, though we say that intersections are there, but we have to actually look at each intersection carefully so that we can kind of include them meaningfully. Just to say that they are in the room means that they are off the class but not in the class. So I think it's very important that we need to kind of meaningfully structure our own interventions when we think about it in such a way that each of them gains something from it. So the other question about what is my research,
Yes.
is my research primarily has been on disability and gender. So I look at many issues of gender.
Yes.
In this thing. But the last research that I did was on care, because we feel that as a disabled person, I always need care, because somebody needs to kind of help me. My driver has to help fold this wheelchair into my car, and then I can, or somebody has to cook for me because I can't do it all the time. So I think, but I actually did this research when I spoke to the mothers who have daughters who are disabled and who are taken care of them.
Yes.
So this is a care of each other. This is one level, is a feminist one, where you say that it's unpaid work, and they don't look at the recipients. But I'm a recipient also.
Me too. Okay.
So I feel that I want a particular kind of, care, I mean, don't hold my, like, this looks like my body, So don't start kind of, fiddling with my wheelchair, because it's my body.
Okay.
And don't do that. So in that particular sense, I feel that while we can care for each other, but one thing that emerges from my research is that we are all interdependent. I mean, if I have to write, I need a pen. And so in for a disabled person also, it's not as if you are giving me care and I'm like a beggar who's kind of getting that. But I think it is more important that we care for each other, and in that sense, I think we also create a relationship that is a meaningful, loving, and there's a lot of relationality out there, so that in that sense, we are, as human beings, we are remembered, not as objects, who are kind of, being, okay, on a airline, they would often say, "Are you traveling alone?" Then I kind of, sometimes I get angry, and sometimes in a humor, with a sense of humor, I say, "Are you going to come with me?" So they say, "No, I am."
Okay.
So I said, "Yeah, because I have to go alone, so
They
it's
ask
okay."
you, what is your assistant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I say that, well, either you come or then, so that's like I joke around. But that is where I think we need to change the pattern, where we need to say that we can be autonomous and independent, but we also need people. So
How?
And they also need us.
How to we
And when
change?
I teach, see, if I was teaching my students, and there are
Yes.
almost 41 students out there,
Yes.
and supposingly if you were to remove my wheelchair and I'm sitting there, they wouldn't know whether I'm disabled or not.
Yeah, okay.
I'm teaching you. At that time, my mind is working,
Okay.
and I'm being your teacher.
Yeah.
So in that particular sense, it is something which is. So I'm also giving you something. You're
Yes.
learning from me.
Yes.
But I also learn from my students.
Yes.
So it's a reciprocal relationship that is very, very important. And I feel that we must always remember this, that as human beings we care for each other, and our interdependence actually becomes our theme song.
May I interrupt you? Because I think it is difficult to change something which more than 100 years is happening in our society. It's very difficult, but I'm not a social romantic to draw a picture, everything is okay and we have to change. I know we have to change, but how? If people have only few or sometimes no resources to change their lives, to live life with dignity, with few resources to participate, how can we, disabled people and other agencies, be successful? Question mark.
Yeah, I think we need to be with them. We need to, when I say them, we fellow disabled who are with me, and we need to talk to each other. We need to also create their, agencies, so that they understand that it's not like, I'm also not romantic, but I know that I'm optimistic. So I know that I might not create a world that I have it in my mind, and I might die before that. But if I have been, helpful in enabling the other disabled people, in creating their lives and in being very, very happy about it, then I think I would have done my job. And what I do is, I don't talk to the converted people, because you and I know our problems, no? Okay? So I always talk to others who don't understand what disability is all about. And in that particular sense, I think it is to create structures that are disabled friendly, so that we can be there and we give them a playing field. And if you have given them a playing field, then they can be anything that they want it to be. They can be teachers, they can be practitioners, they can be anything in the world. So I think it is very, very important. I often think of Professor Stephen Hawking. He was a model for us also, no?
Yes.
Because he was someone we knew, and in that sense. Or somebody like Firdaus Kanga, who's, I have a movie that is his autobiography, it's called Sixth Happiness.
Yes.
And I can see that, he deals with the losses and yet manages to then grow up and says that how grow as a human being, and I can kind of, be a person who can be thought of in that sense.
It is a kind of transformation
Yeah.
from maybe nothing to a lot,
Exactly.
to achieve a lot.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
and therefore we need a lot of resources.
Yeah.
What kind of resources, I ask, because we are in different contexts. When I say we, I mean all disabled people all over the world. Some have few and many, and other have.
And others don't have. Yeah, for example, if I was to take India, my university is not like this.
Yeah.
It's when I went, I only had given them a ramp which was as a gift, because there was a workshop that I was doing.
On what year was it? On what year?
In Ambedkar University. Otherwise in Delhi University.
In which year? What was it?
2015.
15.
Yeah.
You present them a ramp to get access to university.
Yeah. So, but what happened was that the vice chancellor said that now you do whatever you can do, you know. So we got some wooden, some cemented or whatever, but I made the structure so that I could move around everywhere. Then there was only one toilet, which was a disabled-friendly toilet, not fancy, but it can be used and it is there. Now then I realized that it was a women's toilet earlier. Now they made it like a disabled toilet. So I said, where will the women go? So, you know, then I said that no, I'm going to write disabled there, but it is staff and women, you know, and women can go to that. So I think there was again a reciprocal relationship, you know. So they also become more careful that water is not there all the time and all, and the cleaner is there and all that. But I can't say that I want to lock this toilet because, you know, other women cannot come into it. But I don't believe in that because we don't have too many resources. But of course, now our university is being made, like, you know, it will in about 3 years or so, that will be an art, like, you know, in the way your this thing is. But for many years and many times, we don't have, you know, those kind of resources that such universities in the West have. But I think it's not always important that we need to have resources, but yes, we need the state to actually give us the basic things that are important, so that every university from now onwards should be a disabled friendly structure.
Maybe as schools also.
Schools.
As a first. Because the school
and schools
is
have
the
to
first,
be,
the first step
exactly.
in this changing society.
So that they can be there.
Not only the hurdles and obstacles in architectural, but only cognitive in how we do it.
Exactly.
That's great. I have two last questions, because I know you will be flying to India in a few hours. Anita, as I understand you, you said 2015 you took this RAM and it became a change of a transformation, because you are disabled, and then they looked at you, oh, she got resources, now we have to ask her, or maybe you ask questions, how do we get resources? I don't mean only resources in the context of money. What other resources do need?
They thought that I was well known as a intellectual person, you know, who was not taken up just because I had disability, because I was the topper of the university and all that. I have published books and all. So the Vice Chancellor was not valuing me because I'm disabled. He was actually thinking of me as a scholar who has the potential to create changes out there, you know. And he takes these two words which he loves, which is called that it should always be engaged practice.
Engaged practice.
You know, it should not be only theory. It should always be theory and engaged practice, you know, so that you can create something out of that, you know. I'm not saying don't do theory. He used to tell me this, you know, that you also love your theory. I said, yes, I love my theory, but my theory can create something also there. No, like Kurt Lewin used to say, that there's nothing more sound than a practical theory, you know. So theory is important, but from that theory, there is also practice, you know, where can we go? So we have internships and we do a lot of things, and, you know, in one particular sense, we create such situations where, you know, people can kind of, you know, become practitioners in that sense.
The last question will be very difficult, because can you sum up the last 2 days here in the University of Bielefeld, what's happened in this conference from your point of view? Did you reach your goals, or do you have any expectations?
No, I think I learned a lot, because there were many things that I had, because I'm also sometimes, you know, linked up to disability, and I only think about disability at that time. But, you know, today I thought that inclusion has to be a broader vision, you know, and in that, though of course I am like a person who believes in intersections, but I think there was a lot which I learned from the younger scholars, you know, and who were kind of, you know, giving their presentations and all. And I think there's a lot of systematization which was there, which I think was very, very meaningful for me. And I thought that I can learn a lot from them, and I've taken with me, you know, these things. And of course, we also have kind of given them a, thought, Bettina, Kala and I, and we think about whether there is a possible to actually take this up in future, and create, some meaningful research that can also create, a constructive product that can be taken up, So I think I have also taken with me a lot of, and also the goodwill of the people, that is there.
Yeah.
It's, people say, like I met you yesterday, but you will be my friend. So strangers are those who we hadn't known, but they are friends. So I think I found many friends, I found many, connections, and connections in life are always very, very important. Not the material connections, but the emotional, friendly, And also, I feel that there's I'm also in one sense a political person, I look at the state and I say that the state has to answer, and in that sense I feel that disability is a political issue also, So in that particular sense, I think I could manage to kind of, share this part with them, and I could also learn things from them. Like there was this youngster from Japan, and that she told me that how, there's a contradiction always, that they can do a lot and then they kind of say that, okay, now we can't talk about defense at all, because they've had a history, So in that sense, I think there was a lot that I learned also.
I hope, because maybe you speak in my, what we call in my sense, I did took a lot the last 2 days, and I hope we will give this to other generations, because they are also an actor in this theme. Not only the state, civilization, NGOs, ever. Scholars, students, parents, we have all to